In the last video, I talked about why we procrastinate, and today I'm going to be going over 4 techniques to help you prevent resistance and overcome procrastination. I hope you're having a great day and haven't procrastinated too much. My name is Nick, and this is Mindful Mastery. If you haven't already, consider subscribing because we are at the beginning of a series that will help you master productivity. And if you know a friend that is a chronic procrastinator, then please share this with them. But jump right into it. The first thing that you want to do is prepare for your work the day before. And there are 4 steps that you want to make in order to do this. The first thing you want to do is set up your workspace. This follows the 20-second principle, where if you take longer than 20 seconds to start something, then you start to lose motivation towards doing it and will probably end up procrastinating. If you go to start working and your desk is a complete mess, then you start to amass a large amount of resistance even before you sit down. So the night before, just clean off your desk and get out all that you'll need for the next day. If you're gonna read, then turn to the specific chapter that you're going to read. Every extra piece of preparation that you do will make it that much more likely that you crush the next day. Next, you need to write up to 6 tasks that you want to do in order of importance. This helps get one less thing off of your mind so that you can hit the ground running the next day. Whenever I haven't done this, I then in the morning have to spend time prioritizing, and often I'll realize I have a lot to do and then become overwhelmed and then not want to work because I'm overwhelmed. The third step will be to break complex tasks into subtasks. And doing this or not will depend on whether you have any complex things that you need to work on. But nothing can be more daunting and frustrating than going to work on a big task without any milestones to shoot for. So by breaking it down into subtasks, it becomes much more easy to manage because you just need to tackle it one piece at a time. And the last thing that you want to do is write out intentions for the day. And you can do this the night before or the morning of. It doesn't really matter that much. You just want to write down specifically what you're going to be working on that day and what the end will look like for you. This will help your brain to understand when the end of work will come rather than it trying to stop in the middle of working. At first, you will kind of overestimate how much work you can do, so aim just a little bit lower than you think you can do, and over time you'll get a better understanding of how much work you can get done, which will allow you to decide on how many projects you can take on before you begin to get overwhelmed. The next thing you can do is figure out why you procrastinate. And firstly, you want to just take 5 to 10 minutes to think about what are the potential triggers that cause you to procrastinate. But obviously you won't be able to think of all of them, so whenever you're working, you want to write down anytime you get an urge to procrastinate and what caused it. From there, you want to remove as many triggers as possible. So if you struggle with the internet and you don't really need it to work, then try and disconnect from that, either by having someone change the internet password or by going somewhere that doesn't have any internet. And for those triggers that you can't necessarily remove, you want to apply the 20-second rule because it works just the same way for things that you don't want to do. You just need to make sure that it takes longer than 20 seconds for you to access it. So if you have a problem with your phone, then turn it off and then put it in another room, or uninstall all of the apps on your phone that often distract you. In the last video, I talked about one of the main reasons people procrastinate is because the reward is not immediate enough, especially for things that are important for them. I mean, with this channel, it's obviously not growing as fast as I would like, so from time to time, I lose motivation, even though I know that as long as I consistently work hard and provide valuable content, over the long run, my channel will grow. And this is the case for a lot of people that have to set their own deadlines and create things. And there are 2 ways that you can counteract this, either by giving yourself a reward whenever you work on something, or punishing yourself whenever you don't. A common system for rewards is giving yourself a reward after you complete a task. So after you work on 10 problems, you can watch a YouTube video. Or if you eat healthy all week, then you can have a cheat day. But you can also do it by pairing the task with the reward. So while you're on the elliptical, you can be watching your favorite show, or while you're doing homework, you can be eating your favorite snack. Now, rewards are pretty easy to give to yourself, but they can lead down a negative spiral. Opposite to that, punishments can be very difficult to follow up on. I mean, you can try to punish yourself by not watching TV, but if you didn't get any work done, then it was probably because you were watching TV already. which is why I really like to rely on outside forces to follow through on the punishments. I know for a while there, the YouTuber Thomas Frank had a system set up where if he didn't wake up on time, then a tweet would be sent out that released his bank account information or something like that. Now that would definitely motivate a lot of people, but you can do something a little bit more simple, like relying on a friend by giving them $20, and if you don't complete the task, then they get to keep it. Just make sure that you pick a friend that you trust to give it back in the case that you do finish the work. I tend to prefer punishments just because with rewards, they can lead down a negative spiral, because with a lot of them, whenever you pick them up, they can be very difficult to put down. But going in the opposite direction, the last thing that you want to do to prevent procrastination is starting success spirals. Most people, whenever they are procrastinating and not starting, all they need to do is start, and then they won't have any problem continuing to work. So a good way to do this is by the Pomodoro technique. And this is simply working for 25 minutes, then taking a 5-minute break, doing that 4 times, then taking a 30-minute break, and then doing that until you finish your work. But the key here is to focus on the first 25 minutes of work, because whenever I do this, after that 25 minutes is up, I often am super engaged in the task and continue working. And there are a bunch of apps out there that will allow you to utilize the Pomodoro technique on your cell phone or on your laptop. But one that is kind of similar to it that I thought was pretty cool is Flora. And with Flora, you start off by setting 25 minutes or however long that you want to work for, and you plant a seed. And as long as you don't leave the app, then that seed will eventually grow into a tree. But if you leave the app, then that tree will die. So it serves as a sort of motivation to stay off your phone. But Flora also has a couple other cool features. And sadly, if you have an Android, then you have Forest, which doesn't have any of these extra features. But with Flora, it takes advantage of the punishment system. So you can link it to your bank account and then choose a specific amount of money that you're willing to pay. And then each time you let the tree die, that money then goes towards planting a tree in real life. So it gives you an extra boost of motivation, and even if you fail, you're donating to a good cause. Also, if you have a lot of group projects, then whenever you're all working together, then you can invite other people to participate in growing your tree. So if one person gets off the app, then the tree dies. But there are also times where you have no problem starting your work, and then while you're working, you then get the urge to procrastinate. And what I do to keep the success spiral going is either tell myself to get to the next step or just go another 15 minutes. And similarly, by the end of this 15 minutes, I end up being super focused on the task and not have much of an urge to procrastinate. But there are some times where I do stop working, and that's okay, because each time that I do this, I'll be able to go longer and longer. But while you're working, there are undoubtedly going to be a lot of things that appear in your brain that don't have anything to do with what you're working on, some of which might be important. So you want to make sure that you keep a piece of paper next to you to use as a distraction dump and write down anything that you feel like you need to. This way, if something important comes up, then you can write it down and remember it without it interrupting your workflow. We just covered a lot, so let me recap real quick. You want to prepare the day before by setting up your workspace, prioritizing up to 6 tasks, breaking down complex tasks into subtasks, and writing intentions for the day ahead so that you don't have that much running through your head and you can hit the ground running. You then want to figure out why you procrastinate and then remove or apply the 20-second rule to as many triggers as possible to prevent them from distracting you. If your work isn't immediately rewarding, then you want to reward yourself for working or pair the reward with the work that you're doing. If rewards don't really work for you, then you can put something on the line as punishment for not doing your work. And lastly, you want to start success spirals to gain momentum by making sure that you start your work or pushing another 15 minutes. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. In the next video, we will be wrapping up mastering procrastination by talking about how to master your mind and overcome resistance. I'll see you there.